Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Nooner. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Francisco, California. I almost forgot where I came from. I mean, I'm on YouTube too, but it all started with Nerdrotic.com, my little website, the little website that could. What's up, everybody? Yeah, I skipped Monday, and we will discuss the new Nerdrotic Nooner schedule in a moment as people come in. Let's just start out with some greetings, shall we? We do have plenty of news to talk about, and not everything in the description now. It's, we keep getting news. For Hollywood not being in production, and it looks like it's going to be longer now, we're still getting news. And we will most definitely discuss the latest. Star Wars is just leaking all over the place. So we got Star Wars leaks and rumors. Birds of Prey 2 has been canceled. Cancel culture. Well, it turns out some people actually want to fight against this, but it's the people who have helped perpetuate it. So it might be too little too late, but that's a big issue. The comic book industry is over. It's dead. It's done. I've got some data to back that up, but we can also go over Scott Snyder, a person I am really disappointed in right now. And, he took part in some piling on Dean Cain, and just proving that, the comic industry is filled with a bunch of little boys, just a bunch of little boys. And right now, I just want to break out the popcorn and watch it fail. And that's not how I felt a couple of months ago. I was trying to help comic shops, but at this point, if nobody else wants to stop the cancel culture going on within the comic industry, now some of it was deserved, but we're talking about the people who didn't deserve this. And by the way, Dean Cain was not wrong, and we'll discuss that. And, of course, we're going to talk about the larcening or the Briepocalypse. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nerdrotic, who just delivered some coffee. She's the best. She's the best. She's a keeper. She's a keeper. Okay, so let's see who's here. Nacho Man Randy Sandwich is here. Hail. Vegas Royal. Hail. Got some news on that, too. David Gurafa. Darkstar 76. People's Front of Canada. I might be joining you. Darren, like my father before me. So you're not the first of his name. Bunaburn. Oh, is it Bunabun or Bun for Bun? Zoomed 1975. I remember that year. I actually remember that year. Richard Priest, Chris Persia, and his Canadian wrench. Oh, Starry-Eyed Girl is here. Little round of applause for one of my favorite Modrotics. Now, my Modrotics are just like my children. I don't have any preferences, but that's not entirely true. No, I'm just kidding. So welcome back, Starry-Eyed Girl, and R.I.P. Doctor Who. I'm sure we'll talk about that. The official Dougie J is here. Officially my oldest friend, because he's the oldest friend who still talks to me. So I'm really appreciative of that. Doug and I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in the theater multiple times in 1981. We saw Blade Runner in the theater when it came out with my mom. It was great. Buckaroo Boizu, Dave Garafa, and Goddess in Training. Goddess in Training, I think you're okay. I think you've got your certificate in goddessness. What's up, Fitness Girl? How's it going, everybody? All right. We'll start out with the comic news, because I know a lot of people, because I've heard from you, they're like, enough of the comic stuff. But listen, I don't know if you know this or not, but I used to own a comic shop here in San Francisco for 10 years. So it's kind of a subject near and dear to my heart. We got some good Lord of the Rings news too. Some fabulous, great, wonderful Lord of the Rings news that will give you all hope that we might actually get a good television show when and if it eventually comes out. It turns out New Zealand has defeated the beer bug somehow, and they're in production, and it looks like they might be locking out Americans. So I don't know what that, we'll see what comes of that. But you just got to make sure I hit the right screen here. There we go. We'll start out with the comic industry. This is a pie chart. I like pie charts. They help me with things. This is a pie chart created by Brian Hibbs. Brian Hibbs, of course, is the person who bought my shop. He owns the comics experience here. And just like Comics Division, he doesn't spell the word comics right. He spells it with an X. And he also has the Comics Experience Outpost, formerly the Comic Outpost, which was my shop. I'm going to see if I can get that name back, by the way. I'm going to see if I can use that because I liked it. And it will be an outpost of sorts because it will not be carrying mainstream comic books. I've said this a lot, but I'd like to make it official here. I will not be carrying any new Marvel, DC, or Image. Now, maybe Dark Horse, for sure Alterna, Dynamite, yes, I'll be carrying some Dynamite comics, but it'll be few and far between. The shows, and there'll be a show there. The shop's focus will not be new comic books. But look at this pie chart here. Now, this is based on book publishing, and it is the NPD book scan. I'm not going to bore you. I mean, look for one. Brian loves his numbers and his charts and his breaking down stuff. For a guy, Brian's a capitalist. He won't admit it, but dude, you have to be a capitalist to break this stuff down. And I know, he doesn't have like Asperger's or anything like that, which wouldn't be a problem if he did. But yeah, look at that. So for one, manga rules. Manga destroys the American comic book industry. And partially because they tell good stories, they don't get sidetracked with identity politics. And it's really, the American comic book industry had their chance to follow their model, not the art, but their publishing model. But that's gone. That opportunity is gone. So we're going to go back down here and we're just going to take a look at why the comic book industry is dead. And I'll try to sum this up as much as I can, but this is not from a book scan as far as comic shops. This is not a pie chart for comic shops. This is for bookstores. Okay. Western publishers, Scholastic, and this is graphic novels, by the way. Scholastic sells 40% of the graphic novels out there. Now look at Marvel and DC, 6%. DC actually beats Marvel in this. And then it's everyone else. So what is Scholastic? I'm going to try not to make you guys dizzy. I'm going to show you what Scholastic is. There's a book cover right up top here. That's Scholastic. Okay. There's a great place for it. The kids' books. Basically, you have, and I'm very curious to see how Scholastic does with schools not being in session, and we will get to that. But they have this captive audience. It's basically a government bailout because Scholastic can work within our schools. So if you write books that fall within the curriculum, which here in San Francisco is borderline Marxist, you can sell your books there to this captive audience. Kids are bored. You remember book club. I remember book club. If I had a moment of not doing boring schoolwork and I could look through my thing and buy, there was Spider-Man and Batman books in there. There was, I used to really be into NFL stats. I used to be a huge sports ball fan and I used to really be in the NFL stats. They had NFL stats books. So yeah. That's the comic book industry now. That I have no interest in selling this stuff. I'll have a section in my kids, but like zero interest in selling this stuff. This is not comic books to me. This is kids books. This makes you a bookstore. And again, I hope there's plenty out there. I want them to exist, but this isn't the comic book industry. The comic book industry is this. This is the comic book industry. This is dead, by the way. This is a great book. This is dead. Dead. Not coming back. There's a lot of reasons for that, but most of it is infighting, the inability for the industry to unite in any way, shape, or form, the inability for the creatives to behave themselves like adults and not attack fans. And do not confuse that with you have to agree with them. You do not have to put up with any abuse. You just don't respond. You just go somewhere else. You know, if Twitter becomes an unpleasant place for you so much where you're attacking customers and you're costing other people money, you might want to think, do I really need this? I draw comic books for a living. That's a pretty good life. You get to pay your bills. You get to draw comic books. That is an opportunity. You know, my sponsor always used to get on me because I'd say, I have to get up and go to work. No, he's all, no. You get to get up and go to work. And that's how you flip, to the positive attitude, to attitude of gratitude, which America doesn't have right now. And the comic industry hasn't had, I don't know, in the last 10, 20 years. People used to love being in this industry. They did. That's all they wanted to do was draw comics and write comic books. These people want to write scripts, do something else. This is a stepping stone. So you look at this little pie chart down here, and it's freaking over. That shows you that manga rules, and I'm just going to have to start getting into manga, I guess. And I will be carrying it. And that tells you the entire picture right there, folks. There is, and then there's this. Comic stores and diamond distributors clash as industry reopens. That's what you needed. You needed arguing. You had months to plan this stuff. Months. What did Diamond do? They stopped distributing books. They stopped paying publishers. Then they came back saying they had an extension on their credit, so we're solvent, which you're not. You're not. Technically, you're not. And DC went, no thanks. They spent their time trying to find a new distributor while the entire industry fought them on it, basically. Because change is scary, but you'll have a very limited opportunity to, especially with an industry like this that doesn't move very fast, to pivot. DC, because they were forced to. I don't think if it was DC under old Warner Brothers, it wouldn't have happened. But this is AT&T. They said we mean business, meaning we need to make money or you're out. So DC was forced to keep working, and it was a good thing they did. They've tried to find an alternative, and what did they get? What you usually get from the comic book industry. A bunch of whining, complaining, attacking, and it falls apart. It falls apart. So the distribution company denies complaints. It is intentionally charging more during a time retailers are getting back on their feet. Our base shipping rates have not changed, but the landscape in which we are opening has. I'm not going to bore you with this entire article. Basically, everybody's shipping charges have gone up, and UPS charges more for smaller boxes. So if you have more smaller boxes, your shipping is going to cost more. That has never changed. Brian Hibbs knows that. All the comic shops know that. So they decided to pick this one thing to bitch about. They also bitched about UPS being late. For a little while there, it was pretty dangerous for truck drivers to go into cities. Brian Hibbs is in a big city where there was rioting and looting and protesting. So I'm surprised these companies went into these cities at all. And they should be grateful that they did. But that's what you choose to bitch about. Not let's make better comic books. Let's try to get the most customers possible. Let's simply not attack fans. Let's start there. How about go 30 days without attacking a fan? Every single one of you in the comic book industry. Let's see if you can do it. So, of course, they took Dean Cain, and I mentioned it in my video, said, because they were talking about canceling superheroes. He said that Superman could not say truth, justice, and the American way in a Superman comic. Of course he couldn't. And he can't say it in a movie. He was spot on. He was absolutely right. So Tom King tries to come at him saying that he actually said that in a Superman comic, but it wasn't Superman himself. It was another character. It was a different context. So they put up a tweet saying, it was here. I'll bring it up. I will bring it up now. And I'm surprised I'm not blocked. Okay. Who is this? Wrong answers only. Superman. Oh, that's so funny. And he agreed with Heather Ontos. And Tom King attacked him too. So I just said, this is why I will not be carrying any new DC and new Marvel comics in my comic shop when it opens next year. Done with the legacy comic clique, formerly called an industry, because of little boys like Scotty Snyder. You broke your comics pledge. And if you look at the comics pledge, if you to actively call out friends and peers even when no one else is watching. To actively intervene when we see or know of abuse, harassment, grooming, or manipulation. To never abuse, harass, groom, or manipulate women and all people of marginalized genders and sexes. So that's basically keeping out white men. But the thing is, Dean Cain is 3/8 Japanese. You broke your comics pledge, bruh. So, screw the comic book industry. I'm just done. I don't have time for it anymore. I'm too old for this shit. And comic shops, you had your opportunity to stop this. The people in charge, AT&T, Disney, Marvel, you had your opportunity. And what did you do? You signed off on it. So F you all. RIP comic shops. That's it. I mean, right now, independent is the only way to go. You're not going to be able to tell the stories you want anyway. Dean Cain pointed that out. You can't tell a traditional superhero story anymore. They're calling it outdated, but I would argue that the Watchmen type of story, the postmodern, anti-hero, just all dystopian bullshit is over. People are tired of it. And even if you could tell a story in that realm, pretty much every comic book is going to have to be about Swedish bikers on meth or those bad guys from Germany. Those are the only villains you'll be allowed to have. You can't write any other character with any kind of complexity. So everybody will be basically like Mikey Spock from Star Trek. It'll be like Ray. That's what you're going to get from the comic book industry. Or you can write little scholastic books. And that's probably the only way you're going to be able to make money. It's sad. It really is sad, but that's the way it has ended, just as we suspected. This is a surprise to none of you. I know that right now because the comic industry they have systematically gotten rid of any dissenting voice, anybody who wouldn't agree with them lockstep. And yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people there who are pretending to agree with them. Mags Visaggio pointed that out, that they were, she recognized that she was being used as a purse puppy by the industry, but it's not going to change. It's a cult. It's a cult, and you're either in the cult or you're out of the cult. And I'm very happy to be out of it. I'm proud of being an outsider. And as should we all. As should we all. And I really don't know where you go from here. Other than on your own. If you want to create your own comic book, you're actually free. You have a better opportunity of making it now. And I would argue the same thing about Hollywood, creatively doing your own thing. You can go and start. It's easier to start your own platform than to go through the multiple gates, and you'll have to bend your knee a few times. You'll have to wear knee pads. You'll have to probably totally change your personal politics. You can't be centrist. That's considered extremist now, which is, it makes sense. That's how cults view anybody with common sense. So, yeah, I don't know. The industry isn't going to survive this. Comic shops are not going to survive this. And I said it in my multiple videos, the comic crisis just started. And the bad news we have facing here in California, the bad news that it's going to happen, folks. It looks like shelter in place is going to make a comeback here. And as we thought it would, but it looks like it's going to make a comeback, and that's going to affect the comic book industry. Some of the biggest shops are here. DC is here. So, I mean, they can work from home, but it's going to affect distribution. It's going to affect shipping. I don't know if every state's going to do this, but I'm positive our state is going to do it. Now, there's no confirmation yet, but that's the whispers I've been hearing. And speaking of whispers, the whisper networks within the comic book industry have not gone away. And I may or may not have some news on that front very, very soon. It won't be surprising, right? But it'll be just like when I did that video on the Access Media admitting that they were the Access Media. It's something we know, but it still has some impact when we hear confirmation of it. I know, Chris, I'm going to be owning a comic book store, but I guess it won't be considered a true comic book store because I won't be carrying Scholastic and I won't be carrying any new books at all. What's up, Christian Basil? How's it going? Fat Steven Seagal Batman for 2 Canadian pesos. Hail, Gary. My fat karate fights against the SJWs. That's good. That's good. And I hope you fight well. Honey Badger for £5. Gary, have you seen that Cass Anvar from The Expanse has been Me Too'd? Yes, I have. I don't know what the details are, but it looks pretty serious now. I don't know if he's off the show yet. I haven't looked in the last couple of days, but I am aware. Can normie viewers keep DC film universes separate? Return to tradition for $4. That is a good question. Normies make the world go around. And normies are going to be a big part of our Star Wars discussion that we're going to have in a couple of minutes here. And how normies are everything to franchises. You can have a popular franchise that can exist without normies, but it's never going to be what these giant corporations want them to be. That's why it's not a good thing when a giant corporation buys your IP. You can pretty much kiss it goodbye. It's the IP's death. For instance, you can go out, you know what? Michael Jackson did this. A company or a person can go out and purchase the Beatles catalog and all their songs, but you can't reproduce the Beatles ever. So what makes Disney think that they can reproduce Star Wars, even a reasonable facsimile? And it's kind of a miracle that we got The Mandalorian, which is the closest it will ever get, but it will never, ever, ever, ever feel like George, because Star Wars was a piece of George Lucas. And unless you have him directly involved, and yeah, Disney, you need to have him directly involved. Bob Iger scoffed at George Lucas wanting to still be in charge, but think about it. Who cares who's in charge? Disney gets most of the money. They own it. George just said, I want to be in charge. He wanted a little less of the responsibility for financing, but if you would have kept George in charge, you would have made the maximum amount of money for your corporation. And it came down to egos, and this is purely my speculation. Bob Iger is really good at acquiring things, but he wants a creative legacy. What was the biggest criticism of Bob Iger? He wasn't a creative person. And that stuck in his head. Believe me, narcissistic CEOs, millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, CEOs, they hyper-focus on their flaws. That's what drives these people. And believe me, it echoes in his head all the time that he's not a creative person. So he wanted something that he could call his creative legacy. And it was going to be Star Wars. And not anymore. I mean, why else? If George says, hey, I'm going to sell this to you, and I still want to be in control, and I know some of the logic, the prequels, but by that time, honestly, the criticism of the prequels was still around, but it wasn't like it was when they were out. I think things were already starting to turn around. You still had the EU to adapt from. Star Wars was still pretty damn healthy. It wasn't as big as it was before. And the only reason it reached this fever pitch in 2015 is because of the lie that Disney put out there, that we were going to get Han, Luke, and Leia together again on screen. It turned out to be a lie. Now, and that's where you lost the normies. The normies care about Han, Luke, and Leia. That's it. Darth Vader, Stormtroopers. And Disney knows that. That's why they tried to remake the trilogy, and they did it in the laziest way possible. And we've gone over it again and again. And yeah, I'm working on a Star Wars video, and I found, by the way, I got to thank Itchy Baka at Disney Star Wars is Dumb. He's been killing it lately. So I was going over his latest article, and he mentioned a couple of podcasts. I went and listened to them, and there's audio goldmine in one of them. Absolute audio goldmine in one of them. Again, it confirms stuff we already know, but it's nice to hear it. So thank you. Follow Itchy Baka on Twitter. He's got a YouTube channel. And he's got his own blog, or website, sorry. Disney Star Wars is Dumb. But as far as DC films are concerned, well, we hear that there are factions at Lucasfilm, that the Kathleen Kennedy faction is fighting the Favreau-Filoni faction. And the more I look into this, the more I believe it's true. I have no Lucasfilm insiders. Nobody reaches out to me for jack squat as far as Lucasfilm. And so everything is my speculation. And I think there's a lot of evidence out there for that to be true. Now, is there something like that going on at Warner Brothers? Return to tradition? Is there a Snyder Cut faction? And is there a Jar Jar faction? We saw things at Warner Brothers immediately change when Jar Jar Abrams signed his deal. They canceled everything at Comic-Con last year, and I know they're regretting that. And they started reshooting Wonder Woman, and this and that started to happen. And I think Jar Jar signed this deal expecting to be the Kevin Feige of DC. I could be wrong on this one, but I think he was expecting that. Then Rise of Skywalker happens. Then Release the Snyder Cut happens. Then The Beer Bug happens. And they needed content for HBO Max, so we get Release the Snyder Cut, which is great. Then, I would say the DCEU is more popular now than ever. And maybe they're going, wait a minute. We kind of have everything in place still. Even if we release the new Wonder Woman movie, we're not going to completely get rid of the DCEU yet. Birds of Prey was a joke. And of course the sequel got canceled. We'll go over that article in a little bit. But maybe they're thinking about it, because Hollywood needs to, like I said in my video, Hollywood is at a crossroads right now. Are they going to bend the knee to cancel culture? Are they going to bend the knee to identity politics and intersectional feminism and have to fill their crap with all of that crap, and they will get the same effing results that they got in 2019? Or do they want to make money with a sure thing? Doctor Strange, directed by Sam Raimi. That should be Marvel's highest priority right now, because that's the movie that will make money for sure. Henry Cavill Superman will make money right now, but they're having trouble making it. Is it because they're having trouble telling a Superman story, or they feel like they can't cast a white male lead in anything anymore right now, due to the current environment that they helped perpetuate? I think Hollywood as a whole made a huge error over the last 4 weeks with a lot of other corporations. So the Snyder Cut might be able to save them. I am definitely on Team Snyder for sure over Jar Jar Abrams. Because I'm done with Jar Jar Abrams. He has proven that all he does is destroy franchises. Look at Star Wars. Look at Star Trek. Look at their licensing right now. Look at Star Trek's licensing. I don't think it's ever been this bad. And Star Wars, I don't know if it's ever been this bad. Now, when Star Wars took a break in the 80s, that was intentional. It's not like the stuff wasn't selling. George decided to give it a break. I think the fans have given Star Wars licensing a break now. I think Star Wars is dead. I still think Star Wars is dead. Baby Yoda gave you a little bump. You got all the Karens into it, and the Karens will get bored of Baby Yoda soon enough, and they'll move on to the next thing. Bear Nerd Fun. Dude, I owe you a live stream, brother. I owe you a live stream, so I'll email you. I'll have my producer contact you. That sounds awesome. And by the way, hail Lady Gravemaster. Thank you for all your help with this one. Scottish Nerd, thank you for the phallic unicorn. I appreciate it. All right. Yeah, so let's talk about that Star Wars stuff. And yeah, RIP the comic industry. I don't even know what to say about it anymore. A little later, we'll go over some of those tweets, but I mean, that really, I was kind of over it anyway, but that absolutely did it. Their treatment of Dean Cain. I don't care if you don't, I'm a fan of Lois and Clark. I like Dean Cain. I know how he is politically. It doesn't bother me at all. But for them to go after him like that, like they're a bunch of school bullies, like they're the mean girls, it was pathetic. It was pathetic. Scott Snyder risking his reputation by piling on Dean Cain with frickin' Heather Antos. She won't be working in the industry much longer. I'm not sure if she's working in the industry now. And Scott Snyder, I have zero respect for you. And that frackin' tweet, do you know how much money that cost comic shops? Do you know how much money that cost your fucking company? Dude? But I'm sure it felt good. Feel like a man now? Well, you're not. You're not a man. You're the furthest thing from a man. Dean Cain could probably kick your ass, dude. Yeah. It's going to be interesting if we ever have Comic-Cons again. It's going to be interesting. I got a lot of questions to ask people like Scott Snyder. Okay. So let's go to Disney Star Wars is dumb. From Ichibaka. There we go. All right. I'm doing a video on this. I've got a few audio clips. The J.W. Rinsler stuff potentially could be interesting if he ever feels free to talk. He used to work at Lucasfilm. He bailed, and we'll get into why he bailed. That's the news we got today, but we'll start out with the leaks from yesterday. And yes, I will discuss once again, I'm actually doing a video on it. I have gotten a lot of emails asking, because I do a show with Doomcock and stuff. So a lot of people have been asking. I've talked about it on pretty much every live stream, but you know what? There's some people who just watch my video. So I'm going to do a video on it. But as far as Disney erasing the Disney trilogy, I still find it very hard to accept or believe. I believe that they would be considering it. And I believe that there might be two camps kind of, playing corporate politics with each other. But as far as the reality of that happening, I don't think it's possible because of licensing and there's contracts. There's a lot of reasons why Disney couldn't do that, even if they wanted to. They would open themselves up to all kinds of trouble, liability. So we have to look at it that way. Plus, they have investment in this. And it would be cheaper for them to try to make it work or just forget about it and move on to the next thing. I would love it to happen. Absolutely love it to happen. And maybe if I'm wrong on this one, I'd be so happy. I'd be so freaking happy to say I was wrong on this one, but I don't think I am. I don't think they will be erasing the Disney trilogy, within the next 10 years. Do I think they'll remake the original trilogy? Hell yes. Absolutely. More Fall of Skywalker rumors. Scotty Mendelson strangely decided to tweet this random confessional tweet. Make of it what you will. This is strange, by the way. Did he write an article on this in Forbes? I'll check. I haven't checked, but I'll check. This is gossip, but this makes sense because whether I like each film or not, every prior Jar Jar Abrams movie is excessively I don't know if I can say this, is excessively well made. I disagree. I disrespectfully disagree. That's so not true. His films are garbage, except for the Mission Impossible one and Star Trek 2009, but that caused more damage later. But they're boring. They're forgettable. I don't think they're extraordinary at all. They're not garbage, but they're not memorable. Michael Bay's a better filmmaker. Zack Snyder's a better filmmaker. He's very good at what he does. Now, I agree with that. He is very good at selling snake oils. He's very good at constructing the Hollywood equivalent of a pyramid scheme. As my good friend Doomcock says, he is the cinematic antichrist. Now, I don't know who this guy is on Twitter. Having a convo with my friend who works in the film industry, who I haven't spoken to since last November, and boy, does he have the tea on the fall of Skywalker. All right. And because of cancel culture, these tweet things have become a thing. But there is some interesting information. Again, this is just a dude, so I don't know if this guy is just making stuff up. I'll tell you what I think this is in a moment. Points of note. He knows a stuntman doubling for Daisy, who was still shooting November 7th. Oh, stunt woman doubling for Daisy, who was still shooting November 7th. We did hear they were shooting up until late October, so it looks like, and I did report on that in one of my videos, so it looks like that went past it. And I'm wondering if this is a Blade 3 Trinity situation, if you're not familiar with that. Wesley Snipes in Blade 3 was having some troubles with the director, and he wouldn't come out of his trailer, so they shot scenes with his stunt double, which breaks every rule in Hollywood, by the way, but they went and did it anyway. So I'm wondering if it's a situation like that, like Daisy was already gone and they shot with her stunt double. That's weird. Most of the issues were with the studio demanding reshoots, not Jar Jar or Chris Terrio. All right. So this is sounding like a lot of CYA. And the last time I reported on Reddit rumors, I don't know if these are Reddit rumors or not, but I reported on the Reddit rumors. I felt like, especially the last one, that was like, Jar Jar's a dedicated filmmaker, and he wasn't involved, and Disney went around behind his back, which I'm sure they did. I absolutely believe they did. But do I believe JJ would send somebody to go out there on the internet and try to help cover his ass, or would somebody do it without him asking because they're loyal to him? Sure, absolutely. So I think this is just major CYA, and it might have something to do with AT&T and Warner Brothers. Because again, AT&T means business. And they said nobody is free of the guillotine, basically. And even if we sign somebody, or the previous organization signed them to a huge contract, which I bet you they could get out of. Matt Smith was cast as the original villain. This villain was not a clone of Palpatine, but an original character, and was cut when Bob Iger demanded to bring Palpatine back because the audience won't understand who this guy is. Every actor hated how the movie turned out. Okay. We heard it was Kathleen Kennedy's plan all along to bring in Palpatine. Oh, wait a minute. Until it wasn't. Done plenty of videos on that. So it was Bob Iger's idea now. Okay. I thought it was Jar Jar Abrams' idea until it was Kathleen Kennedy's idea, but then it became Bob Iger's idea until Jar Jar Abrams didn't want it to be his idea anymore. So now it's back to being Bob Iger's idea. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Still sucked. Don't care whose idea it was. It was stupid. And for all the critics, including Scotty Mendelson here, who called it fan service, who called The Rise of Skywalker fan service. No fan wanted Palpatine to come back and wanted Luke to be a stepping stone for the stunning and brave Rey. Remember Rey? By the way, she was a character in the Disney Star Wars trilogy. I might have to remind you because you probably have forgotten by now. Okay. So as far as Matt Smith is concerned, poor Matt Smith. You know who you blame for Matt Smith's move to Hollywood? Andrew Garfield. That's right. Andrew Garfield is a mate of Matt Smith. Oh, shit. My phone started like Googling what I was saying there. And when Andrew Garfield got the Spider-Man gig, Matt Smith, I don't know if he got jealous, but he started looking towards Hollywood. And I think it was Andrew Garfield who talked him into it going, hey, mate, they're basically all the white male leads are going to British actors for some reason. And yeah, that's a thing. It's been quite a thing because there's plenty of white male American actors in this country, but Spider-Man's Brit, Batman's been a Brit, Superman's a Brit. You know, I can go on down the line. So Matt Smith probably saw his buddy Andrew Garfield getting work, and he did mention it. He mentioned, I'll never forget the interview. He's like, I can't believe one of my friends is Spider-Man now. And you could see it in his eyes. His wheels were turning. Well, I distinctly remember, and I will find it someday, reading that Matt Smith had agreed to an 8th season of Doctor Who. Absolutely remember reading it. And then a few months later, he left. And so Karen Gillan and Andrew Garfield talked Matt Smith into bailing Doctor Who early. Bet you he regrets that decision because things haven't really worked out well for him since then. Back on Star Wars, every actor hating how the movie turned out? Sure, especially if they weren't told. And by the way, it turns out something very similar has happened to Game of Thrones Season 8. The Dragon Demands has been on top of this. Again, it doesn't make any difference, but it turns out there was a lot of lying involved. The similarities between The Fall of Skywalker and Game of Thrones Season 8 are very interesting. Very interesting. They both involved laziness, egos, and rushing a production that should not have been rushed. And basically trying to treat an amputation with a Band-Aid. Trevorrow was not, this is great. Trevorrow was not told about what the plot of The Last Jedi, Trevorrow was not told what the plot of The Last Jedi. I'm trying to figure out how this is worded. Trevorrow was not told what the plot of The Last Jedi, even when they told him 6 months before the film came out to start working on his script. So he had to rewrite that. In other words, he had no idea what was going on inside The Last Jedi until 6 months before he was supposed. What? That is crazy and believable. So again, to all the people who called all of my friends out, who said they were liars, they were making stuff up. This one time, I will extend a couple of middle fingers to you guys. My fellow YouTubers are our friends here in the Fandom Menace. I don't agree with all of them. I don't believe every single rumor I hear. But I know for a fact they don't make anything up. They don't need to. They don't need to. So you can disagree with the rumors all day long. That's fine. Don't care about that. I disagree with the erasing the Disney trilogy. I don't believe they can do that. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Disney Star Wars talked about it, discussed it. Why not? Why wouldn't you discuss it? It's an option. And right now, probably your most viable option. Look at how excited it made the fans. You cannot deny that. The rumor excited the fan base more than anything has since The Fall of Skywalker. Since the end of The Mandalorian. I mean, Star Wars news was dead. Nobody cared. And I will argue that people will continue not to care unless you erase the Disney trilogy, which you're not going to do. So, all right. It's not like we didn't warn you. And even Favreau came out and said, hey, you need to listen to fans. There's a lot of little signs. And hey, for those of you who've worked in a corporation, you know, bullshit, political bullshit goes on all the time. Power struggles go on all the time. So do you think it's any different here? Especially what we're going to hear from a former Lucasfilm employee in a moment. So again, Trevorrow was not told about the plot of The Last Jedi until 6 months before the film came out. Wow. So he had to rewrite it. He already had a script going and he had to rewrite it, and that's why he left. I'm surprised he didn't leave right there and then. I would have. Disney was, as we all suspected, paying attention to the negative reactions to The Last Jedi and thought the fall of Skywalker would fix it. Well, duh. We all knew they were paying attention. We all knew that they were putting pressure on their willing allies in the Access media to go after us and really run with Russian bots. Again, I want to remind you because it's this stupid. It's this laughable. But considering what we've seen from the news and in the world over the last 4 or 5 weeks, anything's believable at this point. But there was a plot. There was a narrative thrown out by the Access media last year, just in case you're new to the world, that Russian bots, and not just Russian bots, actual Russian agents were behind the criticism of The Last Jedi because they wanted to sow the seeds of discontent in America through Star Wars, through the Star Wars fandom. I shit you not. These people are still working, by the way. We've lost a lot of people on this platform recently who have run with stuff that's a lot more believable than what I just told you. Yet people still believe it. They still bring this up. My God, they brought it up with T. Louis too. So I can tell you with absolute certainty that when somebody makes a video on a TV show, there's a very good chance somebody who works in and around that TV show will watch the video. It's in their best interest to see what's going on, and you can get some real-time data. They pay attention to live streams. They pay attention to videos. I've heard this from the horse's mouth. And they watch negative and positive. I would absolutely, if I had time. If I didn't have time, I would assign somebody, take some notes, find out what they're saying. So I absolutely believe that, and they needed to counteract that. Now, we just saw it again with The Last of Us 2. They were very open with how they were trying to change the narrative. And I'm sorry that some of my friends had to suffer through channel growth for it, but it was great to see that and see how transparent Neil Cuckman was. And that really, I think, backs up everything we thought about Captain Marvel, Star Wars. It's all happening. It's all happening. And listen, they have $1 billion franchise to protect. I understand it. I do. He's also 100% sure that the promised merchandise is all stuff that was licensed and made relating to the first version of the film that originally was signed off on. Which is why pretty much all we have seen are Knights of Ren, Stormtroopers, and Sith Troopers, as far as action figures are concerned. And yes, there is no Fall of Skywalker action figure line. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons behind that, knowing that there's no Toys R Us. And again, this bolsters the argument that Disney Star Wars killed Toys R Us too. The Knights of Ren were supposed to have more backstory, and Jar Jar specifically went to the trouble of casting all the OG stunt guys from the first film. Wait a minute. So this is where this is bullshit. You mean the guys you cut out of the first film? Because you cut them out of the first film too. Only to have the studio cut their backstories. Yeah, this is from the JJ camp, in my humble opinion. And this is where it gets real fluffy, okay? Pertaining to Ben, he says the last fight scene was being reworked constantly, and he doesn't think anyone knows what was supposed to happen in the film. And we still don't know what happened in the film. We still don't know. He says if anyone is going to drop facts about it, it'll be Terrio, which will never happen. Never, ever. As far as NDA agreements go, unless they have a time limit, they don't have a time limit. The NDA I signed with a certain television show releases me when that thing comes out on some stuff. Thing is, I didn't get a copy of the NDA I signed. I probably forgot it there or something, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I would never say anything anyway. It would make me one of the biggest dicks on the internet. That's not my goal. It's not my goal. So other stuff, both Daisy and Adam did almost all of their own stunts, bar the impact into things shots. You mean all the scenes that would require stunt people. Okay. All the stunt people were very proud of how dedicated they were. All right. We all see what this is. Everybody wants to get jobs outside of Disney Star Wars, and we got rats bailing the sinking ship. Well, I hate to report this to you, but the ship sunk. It sunk. And to all of the Disney channels, Disney Star Wars channels who want to disagree with me, which you have every right to do, on the health of Disney Star Wars, and you will cite The Mandalorian and Clone Wars Season 7. Clone Wars Season 7, I watched the last episode. It was good. It was good. Plays to your base. It's preaching to the choir. That is not the health of a franchise that doesn't play to the health of a franchise that needs to be $1 billion franchise, that needs to bring in $1 billion movies to survive. It's not going to survive through streaming. Not yet. They weren't there yet. Eventually, sure. The Mandalorian is good. It's good. Brought in a lot of normie Karens with Baby Yoda. That's not going to last. It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. You need good storytelling. You need water cooler talk. You need people looking for what's about, like the black lightsaber at the end. Like, that's good. That's something you need people to talk about. But again, though, this still takes place in a world that ends with the fall of Skywalker. Here's something interesting. Also, what they shot for the first version of the film was about 40% scrapped and reshot. Again, this isn't absolute confirmation. This is just a bloke on the internet. This could be a troll. I don't know. Scotty Mendelson ran with it. I don't know. But it sounds consistent with everything we read in the Reddit leaks at the end from Jedi Praxis. Is it Paxis or Praxis? I don't know. From last year, it confirms all of this. Midnight's Edge did videos. Doomcock did videos. Jeremy did videos. I did some videos on the Reddit stuff, and they said 75%. This says 60%. Okay. And at the time, we all brought up when people were going, that's impossible. You can't reshoot 75% of a movie. Well, okay. Explain Solo, which was 90% reshot, 60%, more than half. So I still believe that The Fall of Skywalker cost $600 million to make. That's my best guess. Which means I don't think they made a bunch of money. It might have covered some catering costs. Then they do some more, fluffy stuff. There's my boy. God, I'm so proud of Ryan. Look at that. Look at my boy, Ryan Cannell. Ryan Cannell! It's like the YouTube version of A Star Is Born. Except hopefully I don't kill myself later. And there's my boy Doomcock right there. All right, now here's the interesting thing, and then we'll get to you guys. This is the news from earlier today. Well, it's not news. This is this is why Ichibaka is good. And this is what I do. I listen to a ton of podcasts, okay? Because there's a lot of work and there's a lot of wasted time, and you listen to a lot of crappy podcasts and you find some really good ones. Everybody and his mom has a podcast now, by the way. Sure microphones, Joe Rogan's microphone wasn't available anywhere for like a month when the beer bug started because everybody wanted to start a podcast. And that's good. That's good. We need more people out there to compete against Hollywood because we are Hollywood's competition. But what's interesting about this is I listened to the podcast he recommended, and oh my God, there was some good stuff in there. So that'll be my next video. I've got all the clips isolated. They just need to be put together. Probably be out tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. We'll never know until it comes out. J.W. Rinsler, all right? J.W. Rinsler's friend left Lucasfilm early and suffered less brain damage, plus other Rinsler bits, various and sundry. So J.W. Rinsler has been appearing on podcasts to promote some of his upcoming books, and many of the fandom menace are waiting with great anticipation to hear his perspective, only hinted at in his The Fall of Skywalker blog, or the Rise and Fall of Star Wars blog. I saw the Rise of Skywalker, sorry. So I did start reading some of this blog, and wow, there's a lot. This goes way back. There's a lot to go over there. So the following are some comments from his recent appearances. In May, Rinsler retweeted the following post from April 27th, and these are some of his appearances. By the way, this is a guy who wrote the making of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, all the films until The Force Awakens. That was canceled. Okay, that was canceled. All right, so this was one of the podcasts he was in. The interviewer asked Mr. Rinsler if he had read Bob Iger's book. The only thing I read was some, except where he said he could have handled basically pushing George out of the creative process a little bit better, which I think is true. The interviewer asked, "That's the part of the book I was going to ask you about. He talks in the book about, he boils it down to, there was a meeting where it became clear that George's ideas for the sequels were not, that wasn't the outline they were going to follow. And he says he regrets not giving George more of a heads up about that before that meeting. Do you recall the meeting that he's talking about? Do you remember what the atmosphere was like when he realized, oh, we're not doing my sequel trilogy?" After a long pause, Mr. Rinsler says, "I do, but I have to be very careful what I say, because as you know, I started a blog where I was going to talk about that. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the meeting he's talking about, but yeah, I am fully aware of what the atmosphere was like." All right, to lend context to that, Rinsler did a video back on July 1st. He doesn't say much in it, but there's some interesting stuff in the comments that Ichibaka found. Again, hail Ichibaka. He didn't say much in the video, but he did leave a few interesting tidbits in the comment section. How did the Lucasfilm company culture change when Disney took over? J.W. Rinsler: "In my opinion, for the most part, in licensing, it wasn't pretty." Interesting. Okay. How long does your NDA last? Lawyers, Rinsler responds, "Lawyers have said the more time that elapses, the less the NDA can be enforced, but it's not a fixed time period." Now, Ichibaka adds, or J.W. Rinsler responds to Ichibaka, "That's a question for the lawyers. With my experience, in those sort of things, I guesstimate 5 to 10 years. Okay. So NDA, non-enforceable after 5 to 10 years with Lucasfilm and Disney. I'd wait 10 just to be safe. Matt Taylor asks, how was it working with Kathleen Kennedy? Rinsler responds, interesting. Now, more on that later. I will put that in my video. MT says, I hope to God that Kathleen Kennedy's 7, 8, and 9 trilogy doesn't exist. George brings you back and you guys work on the real 7, 8, and 9 trilogy. Hell yeah, of course. JW Rinsler responds, I'm sure everyone has noted that the sequels don't have the Roman numerals. I doubt they're ever going back or that I'd be involved. And he says that basically what he's saying there is they're not going to go back and redo them. And they're not, folks. They're not. They're not. Carrie's gone. Harrison Ford will not come back. And honestly, I don't know if Mark Hamill would come back. If they hired George and said, George, redo 7, 8, 9, and if George wanted to do it, and if he hired a writer, a competent writer, because George can't write it or direct it, and maybe they get Mark Hamill back, and if the sun sets in the east, and unicorns fly out my ass, I just don't think it'll happen. Okay, so then in a more recent live stream from a few days ago, J.W. Rinsler discusses working at the Lucasfilm archives with Sci-Fi for Me TV. Interesting note. I applied for a job at the Lucasfilm archive here at Skywalker Ranch, the audio archive, because through my training at Technicolor, I was an archivist there. I also did pre-mastering. I worked in pre-mastering. Basically, it's kind of the last line of defense in a QC for a Blu-ray and a DVD. But I was also working on menus and, again, backing up everything and archiving everything. And there was a special tape that they used that a lot of people weren't using anymore, but Lucasfilm still did. I had experience in that. They wanted to hire me. And this was right when I was leaving Hollywood. I decided, F Hollywood, I don't want to be there anymore. But I needed a second job because the comic shop was just not bringing in enough money. Of course, I was still running the comic shop with a partner at the time. And I came back and I was like in between, like, am I just going to come back to the comic shop and try to make this work? Or am I going to still do the comic shop thing and work another job? And the Lucasfilm job was out there. They offered it to me and I turned it down because the money wasn't good. If the money was better, I would have accepted it, but the money wasn't good. It was awful. It was under $20 an hour. Like, no thanks. All right. At about the 23-minute mark, he discusses his feeling about the changes at Lucasfilm under Disney. He says the following: after being told about the rumors of an internal conflict between Kennedy and Favreau/Filoni camps within Lucasfilm, I keep in touch with a couple of people. A lot of people have left, such as myself. Okay, by the way, a lot of people who were originally there have left. So a lot of that old guard is gone, and I can absolutely confirm that. I really did not. I think that's fairly obvious that I did not enjoy the transition. I was optimistic at first, and then, personally, I did not like what was happening. I didn't like what was happening to the licensing department and the publishing department or the films. Pretty much everything. I think that's everything, right? Maybe he liked the catering. Maybe the lunch. That's my personal opinion. And I really tried hard to make it work for myself because, it was my job too. I didn't want to starve. To put it in an extreme way, but I just couldn't take it. I don't think there were camps at the time, but maybe now there are. That I couldn't really speak to. But a lot of people have left. One friend of mine, she left. She saw the writing on the wall right away, and she got out very early and suffered less brain damage. Oops. All right. I think one thing we can all agree on, Disney Star Wars is a disaster. It has been a disaster. And Disney does need to stop the bleeding. And yes, there is bleeding. This was the biggest franchise in the world. You have lost half of your audience. Half. That is not acceptable anywhere. Kathleen Kennedy will leave when Kathleen Kennedy is damn good and ready to leave. I believe Bob Iger is her bitch. So there must be some poison pill in the contract, which I could, okay, can you imagine George loses control. He's going to have to sign off, and one of his concessions is he cannot be in charge of Star Wars. So he thinks he puts a loyal person in there. That's why he hired Kathleen Kennedy prior to the sale. He tried to get one over on Disney. Turns out, to Kathleen, she put the dagger in his back. She ended up being about Kathleen Kennedy, not about Disney. Kathleen Kennedy. There must have been some resentment. Who knows? Maybe one too many cups of coffee for Steven Spielberg. I don't know. Maybe it was the dancing scene in Temple of Doom. I don't know. But I know you can judge people by their actions. Forget their words. Forget what people say out there at face value, especially when they're working with the company. Chances are, well, it's not true. It is run through marketing agencies. Nobody says anything ad lib or off the cuff. Except for if you're Mark Hamill. People like Mark Hamill, William Shatner can say stuff about their franchises. They're free to do it because they are their franchises. So Kathleen put the dagger in George Lucas's back. He thought he was going to have somebody there that he could basically control from the outside. Turns out not to be the case, obviously. But I could see him wording something to where you just can't get rid of her. If you did get rid of her, there'd be like this, like a massive payout or something, or she gets a bunch of Disney stock, or if you fire her, because there's ways you can get around it. I'm blanking on her name now. Oh, the woman responsible for Ghostbusters 2016, the producer involved there. Sony wanted to remove her. She got removed as CEO of Sony Films because of the Sony leaks, which Midnight's Edge covered pretty well. Well, she put herself in charge of Spider-Man as she was getting removed. So she essentially was still in charge. That kind of shit happens all the time. All the time. So I can see something like that happening. I don't know. Or maybe they just don't want to fire her. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe they love her. We don't know. I doubt it, but you got to say it. But as time goes on, and it's interesting, we all have a lot of time on our hands, but we're going over older information here. I mean, this is stuff we already knew. We're just getting it confirmed by people, and that's great to hear. But as far as the Disney trilogy and erasing stuff, what good would it do? What good would it do? I was watching Robert Meyer Burnett's live stream yesterday, and this is something you got to listen to Robert on. I don't agree with Robert on everything, but the man works in the industry. He understands contracts. He's produced films. He's actually produced films. So I'm going to defer to his opinion on when it comes to stuff concerning contracts and licensing agreements, and he doesn't think it can happen. He says flat out, it just it can't happen, and I believe him. I want it to happen, and maybe it happens in a way that Terminator did it years from now. But that you have to be free again of licensing deals, and there's contracts they would be breaking that they would get sued on. I mean, there's just no way they can do it. I wish they could, but no. What they're probably going to do is forget about it. Move ahead, play around with the Mandalorian, and maybe in the Mandalorian they go to the world between worlds and mess around with it there. But there's certain details in that. Like the mirrors on the Death Star, when Rey experiences Dark Rey. I didn't know that. I guess they were in there. But now some of the criticism was that Palpatine's a clone, by the way. He's a clone in The Fall of Skywalker. They don't make it 100% clear. There's people out there going, he says he's a clone. No, he does not say he's a clone. He doesn't go, I'm a clone. No, he insinuates a lot. He insinuates right after you see the clones of Snoke that he might be a clone, that he survived through some unnatural means. But he doesn't go, what up, dude? I'm a clone. No. Later on, they go, he was messing with clone technology. That's not saying he's a clone. But we assume that. But they can play with that. They could if they wanted to. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go down that way. I think time travel in Star Wars is the worst idea ever. I think it was terrible that it was introduced at all. And I don't think it belongs in Star Wars. Star Wars is supposed to be fantasy. Time travel it's for science fiction. And I think Star Wars is more fantasy than science fiction. It's the way I see it. I could be wrong. Remember Alta Vista? I do. The fail of Skywalker. It was indeed the fail of Skywalker. All right. Thanks for being patient, everyone. What do you think? Again, Doomcock is just reporting a rumor. Let's talk about that for a moment. Again, I need to reset that. And again, I'm going to reset it in the video. I support my friends in all things. Okay. And they can do whatever they want with their channels, and they can report on rumors. And this is how you can report on rumors, and I can, because we're not news agencies, we're fans. So I'll say it again. If you're on Reddit and you see that Zack Snyder might direct The Dark Knight Returns, they're going to get The Dark Knight Returns. They're going to cast Michael Keaton, and it's going to be directed by Zack Snyder. If you read that somewhere, you talk to your friends about it. That's all this is. And if he's presenting it in a way that feels like news to you, well, you know what Doomcock does? It's the same thing that I do. He does the same thing that I do. I do not assume my audience is dumb. Okay. I think you guys can figure out the difference between a rumor and actual news, because when we report on actual news, we will show you the article we get it from. And by the way, I consider maybe 2 websites actual news. I don't think there's a lot of actual news. I think there's bias everywhere. And our job is to just try to sift through the bullshit as much as we can. But it's okay to talk about some bullshit too. It's totally okay. So there's the channels that went after the rumor itself, which is fine. That's what you do. You go, I don't think you can go down like that. And I agree with that. But then going after Doomcock's character, calling him names and stuff like that, if you're having trouble with your channel growth, always look within. That's what I mean. The man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson says, you look at the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, or the non-gender specific thing in the mirror. Thank you, Bear Nerd Fun, for the super sticker for 99 cents. Scottish Nerd, thank you for the phallic unicorn for $1.49. Brian Yoder says, I am the only person excited to see Brie unboxing her silver play button on her second video. You are. Did she get it already? Yeah. Oh, freaking Brie. I love this new thing where everybody's reacting to PewDiePie reacting. I think that's hilarious. Maybe we can do it later in the live stream. Brie Larson has joined us here on YouTube, and I told you, listen, you're going to see more actors coming over to YouTube. They want attention. They need attention. They desire it. And they're not going to be working for a while. Again, it looks like California might go back to shelter in place. Now, some counties might tell Chairman Newsom to F off. And that's good. But, you know, it sucks to hear that. It sucks to hear that. But I heard it was the bars' fault, by the way. It was all the bars. That's bullshit. We all know that. Hail, Gary. Good luck with the big move, says Nicholas Horton for £2. Thank you very much. Yes, I am. I'll make a video on that. I'll let you know what the deal is. But yeah, I'm leaving. Like way earlier than I planned, but yeah, we got to go. I have no choice. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. It's been very distracting. I got to tell you that. It's been very distracting. So I thank you all for your support. Joshua, I want to get this last name right. Samaniego. Joshua Samaniego for $4.99. Hello, Nerdrotic. I discovered you through Geeks and Gamers on Friday Night Tights. Your content is great and keep up the good work and hail the Fandom Menace. Hail the Fandom Menace. Thank you very much. The Fandom Menace is a beautiful hashtag used by a collection of individuals united in the principle of respecting the fan and entertainment made for everyone. And if they can't make it for everyone, then you know what? There's a point where we do have to go our own way and kind of do our own thing. But the Fandom Menace isn't lockstep. That's a great thing. It's not organized in any way, shape, or form, and that's why we like it. We all disagree on a lot of stuff, but we can agree on respecting the fan. No Good breaks out the popcorn for $1.49 Canadian. Well, I hope I'm worthy of the popcorn. Def81 for £1.99. Hail, Gary. What does Brie Larson have to say? Well, not a lot. Brie Larson, the Briepocalypse that's happening here on YouTube, it looks like there might be some shenanigans going on. All right. I didn't get through all of the quarterings video because I had to start this live stream. But as far as comments disappearing, we're going to have to watch out for this stuff. Now, everyone in the Fandom Menace knows it was going to get hairy this year. As we get closer to the election, things are going to get hairy as far as mystery, demonetizing. Basically, if you get anywhere near politics, you're probably going to get silenced, pushed down, whatever, suppressed. And that's probably going to be the reality of the situation until afterwards. And what happens there, I don't know. Generally, I'm fine. I don't worry about that stuff. That doesn't mean I'm immune to it. I certainly, just had a video demonetized, and it's the first time I've ever lost. Ever. Yeah, it's crazy. It's now I've had live streams hit, but like not a video. Oh, well, just got to get back on the horse then. But Brie Larson being here, honestly, it's content. It's great content. I only made 32 videos on Captain Marvel. I did a couple on Brie herself, but I did Captain Marvel videos. So I did 32. I did a lot. That's a lot for me. But no, she's here for anti-racial rhetoric. And that's exactly how she said it. Anti-racial rhetoric. And what she did, she probably looked it up, or her assistant looked it up, and she saw the first definition of it and didn't see the other definitions of it, what it actually means. But yeah. Nikki D for $5. According to Bounding Into Comics, an A-Force movie is incoming. Can't wait for Captain Marvel to preach anti-cop rhetoric while beating the patriarchy. Well, did that come out recently? We have heard about that. That's, I tell you what, if they come out with an A-Force movie, that will end the MCU. It will just flat out end the MCU. Oh my God, really? Okay. I shouldn't have looked. So yeah, A-Force movie. Brie Larson wanted an A-Force movie. Kevin Feige loves him some Brie. He loves him some Brie. I don't know what the deal is there. It's very friendly relationship, we'll say. Brie Larson is the new face of the MCU, and it will fail. It will absolutely fail unless all the movies Brie Larson is in have about 9 or 10 other Avengers. You know, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you did notice that she had 3 companions. That's an awful lot of companions. And she had less episodes, so they were all stunning and brave, and they rolled out the first female Doctor, and they gave her less episodes and less screen time. Look forward to something similar. And I don't know what it is with these people. It's like they want to hire like the worst person for the job. Because Jodie Whittaker was the worst person to play the Doctor. Brie Larson is the worst person to play Captain Marvel. There are women out there who could have played Captain Marvel who would have been much more endearing. Much more endearing. And the only reason they gave it to Brie was she had an Oscar. That's how much they look into it. She won an Oscar. Did she bulk up for the role? No. Did she need to? No. I still say Katie Sackhoff. And I think Captain Marvel should be an older woman, not a little kid. But that's me. She has to have a military career. I don't know how the Carol Danvers in the film could have accomplished the same things that, because Brie Larson was 27 when that started. Accomplishing that much before you're 30. By the way, she joined YouTube. She's 30. In this video, Brie Larson is 30. Look at how she acts. She's 30. I mean, we have people out there, Brie Larson, asking to defund the police, and she waves to people like this. I think if you wave to people like this, you shouldn't be able to vote. Love the channel. Hope the Lone Star State is the final choice. Orif for $9.99. It is a strong contender because I know people there. That helps. I have a lot of internet friends there. Yeah, it's Bun for Bun, taken from my favorite bunny from sluggy.com. Okay, Bun for Bun, thank you for the £5. Sluggy.com. What is sluggy.com? I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Fat Steven Seagal Batman for 2 Canadian pesos. Are pie charts edible by any chance? My fork is ready. If they were, I would have eaten one already. They're good for, people like me who've been kicked out of 3 high schools and need color coordination and things, broken down in the pie chart so I can understand them a little easier. Not color coordination, but you know what I mean. Gary, please give a shout out to my old dealer, Rob, at Capital City Comics in Montgomery, Alabama. Capital City Comics in Montgomery, Alabama, which I believe is still around, right? That's not one of the ones who that shut down, was it? Couldn't send a $10 super chat, so here is the other half. He has a 1.1 sale Silver Surfer on the board in the shop. Capital City Comics on Facebook. I had one too. Give me just a moment. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to find it quick, so I'll find it by the end of the show. I had a bunch of I had a life-size Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Supergirl. Yeah, they don't have a picture of it. I kind of want that back now. I kind of want it back. I don't know if I'll be able to get it back, though. It's not like Brian and I. Oh, and a couple of Spider-Man, too. I had a couple of Spider-Man. Yeah, I can't, it's not. I'll find it eventually. But, yeah. I can show you this. Here, if we go there. Oh, never mind. I got the wrong one. We'll go back to that. What's up, Comics Division? How's it going? Boop, 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 boop. And now I can show it off. Don't pay attention to me with I had to shave my head because my I had green hair. That's my appearance in Wired magazine. But yeah, there's my life size Iron Man right there. That was pretty dope. So yeah, that's the shop. That's the shop. All right, back to you guys. But yeah, shout out to Capital City Comics in Montgomery, Alabama. Darkstar, hail chat and chat. Gary, not totally on the subject, but I read that people think RoboCop is woke, as in the 87 version, because he fights corruption. Thoughts? That's stupid. RoboCop is the furthest thing from woke. Absolutely furthest thing. Darkstar76 for $5. Thank you very much. Yeah, you want to hear some good Lord of the Rings news? You want to hear some good Lord of the Rings news? Let's mix that in a little bit. We'll be quick about this. So you can find this all at theonering.net. Now, that is the website I have been going to for 20 plus years. Okay. Since the original trilogy, or not the original, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is the greatest trilogy ever made, and Lord of the Rings is better than Star Wars. So I've been going to this site for a long time. They have a very small YouTube channel that you should subscribe to because they give you some pretty good news. So yesterday they did a news dump. Production is getting ramped up again for the Lord of the Rings on Prime. Avatar was the first thing to go back in production. It's back in production, and they're going to ramp up Lord of the Rings. We have details on the story. We have a possible A-list star, and we have some great, great news on the production front, in my opinion. All right, so New Zealand's opened back up, and I don't know if it's going to be woke yet. I know you guys are asking, is Lord of the Rings going to be woke? It better fucking not be. Because they have to make it, no matter what they got to modernize this. Tolkien was a devout Christian man, and this was all based on it was Western mythology, okay, specifically for the UK, because we didn't have any. We had ours taken. I say we, because I did my 23andMe, and I'm from, I can't believe what I am, by the way, and we'll get to that in a second. I grew up thinking I was German, like my entire life, right? Because my last name's Beekler, so I did a 23andMe last year. I'm freaking Scottish, so I didn't know I was Scottish, but I am Scottish. All right, so yeah, so Tolkien wanted to create his own mythology because it was stolen from the UK. All the oral mythology was, taken by the Romans and the Vikings and the Saxons, all that crap. So I probably got one of those wrong, but you know what I mean. And that's what they need to base it on. But it looks like that's what they're going to be doing. All right, they're not going to be effing around. So it's going to take place in the Second Age. It's going to take place in the Second Age. We knew that. It's not going to be about young Aragorn. It looks like what they're going to do, this is my speculation, is they're going to take major events from the Second Age and shoot that as possibly seasons, and Galadriel will be the main character that you follow throughout this, and Elrond and all that. So it looks like they're going to show the fall of Numenor, right? The fall of Numenor. Now, I did a little video for my members already on this news. Hang on, I got to pull up. Bum, 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 bum. I want to make sure I get this guy's name right. There it is, right there. Okay, so. All right, so it looks like it's going to take place. It's going to take place in the Second Age. And I want to pull up the right page for this. There we go. And we're going to see the creation of the One Ring and the other 19 rings of power. We're going to see Sauron the Deceiver. And we're going to see the forging of the rings. And the main... Okay, so I'm trying to pull this stuff. It's hard to do two things at once. And it looks like one of the big rumors was that they cast an A-list actor. That A-list actor is Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe will play Ar-Pharazôn. Ar-Pharazôn. So let me make sure that's at the right place. Hang on. And he is the last king of Numenor. So, whoops, sorry about that. My bad. So if you're not familiar with the Silmarillion, Numenor is kind of Atlantis in Lord of the Rings. All right, I don't want to spoil too much. So according to OneRing.net, the entire cast, or not the entire cast, but the majority of the cast has been Instagramming and tweeting pictures of the Silmarillion. Thing is, Lord of the Rings on Prime does not have rights to the Silmarillion. They have all the rights to everything as far as, and I mean merchandising and everything for Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, but they don't have it for the Silmarillion. But yet all the actors and stuff are carrying it around. So maybe they got rights to that too. And it looks to me like they're going to go through the major events of the Second Age and maybe end it with the War of the Ring that's in the epilogue of Lord of the Rings. That's awesome. And it looks like Ar-Pharazôn is going to be played by, that's not a great picture, by Russell Crowe. That's great. Russell Crowe turned down the job for Aragorn back in the day. So maybe this is his way to make up for it. I don't know, but he was supposed to be Aragorn and he's not. And I think that's pretty cool. I like Russell Crowe. I think he would be good Numenorian king. And if we see Sauron, I mean, we never got to see Sauron, but this is going to be about Sauron. This is going to be fucking awesome, as long as it doesn't go woke. So the news on that front is good. They went on to report that this guy directing the pilot, they love him. All right. They like the guy a lot. And eventually, when I get Lady Gravemaster, when she gets fully on board, she can like send me this stuff faster. So sorry. Thanks for waiting, everyone. They have a director right now who is working on the pilot. His name he's a Spanish director, and his name is J.A. Bayona. But as it stands right now, the showrunners are from Bad Robot. They're from Bad Robot. You guys know how I feel about fucking Bad Robot. They are Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne. Now, I'm going to show you their IMDb. Let's start out with Patrick McKay. That's the showrunners of Lord of the Rings. Here is their IMDb. There you go. Uncredited writing work on Star Trek Beyond, a Flash Gordon movie that hasn't come out, and Lord of the Rings. They have no experience whatsoever. And they're from Bad Robot. And this place and the production team was filled with Bad Robot people. Well, turns out they might not be running the show anymore. And this director, this Spanish director, might be the showrunner. Now, again, this is rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. I got these all from theonering.net. I will link that. I will link them into the description. When this turns into a video, I will give them all the proper credit because I got all that information from them. It's a great place to go if you're a big Lord of the Rings fan. I highly recommend you watch all their stuff if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. Just absolutely do. So that's this dude right here. Might be taking over Lord of the Rings. And I say, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I don't care. It's not from Bad Robot. So I think that is a great, great, great sign that maybe we're seeing the Jar Jar Abrams influence starting to erode because of the fall of Skywalker. I'm sorry Star Wars had to be sacrificed to get this guy out of Hollywood, as Doomcock calls him, the cinematic antichrist. And I don't want him involved in anything and anywhere near Lord of the Rings. So J.A. Boyana, you're on. I mean, dude, I'm watching you, dude. But I hope you kick ass. I want this to be good. I want to be reporting on a good TV show. I want to be reviewing a good TV show. So this is good news. Good news. It looks like the inexperienced showrunners are out. Good. Absolutely good. And we do need to talk about, I'm going to take a couple more super chats and then we're going to talk about cancel culture. I wanted to give you some good news first, though. I really did. This is not good news. There we go. Boop-a-doop, boop. But let's read a couple super chats first. Norwegian Kryptonian for 55 Norwegian krona, and all that is now, and all that is gone, and all that is to come, and everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon. Eclipse. Pink Floyd. I don't sing, but my favorite band. Yes. Jack White. You know what? I love the White Stripes. Jack White. Not gonna lie, I've seen him a couple times live. I miss, was it Meg? Was it Meg White, the drummer? You know what? She was like a beginner drummer. Okay. But I liked her. They were very good. The comic book industry in Hollywood are in this crappy position because they keep hiring people who are not interested in entertaining people. They just want to talk down to lecture people, says Jack White for $10. No, you're right, Jack, you're right. But I'm going to add one to that. They want to influence you. They are there to politically influence you. It is not the entertainment industry anymore. And now in the 15th hour and the 16th hour, some creatives in Hollywood all of a sudden discovered that fucking free speech is important, and it's in danger right now because of the wolf you guys, not you not you out there in the audience, you Hollywood let into the door. And now, guess what? Now your industry is in jeopardy. You can make all the announcements you want. You can talk about all the comic books that are coming about. The only industry right now that's not in danger is the gaming industry. Everybody else is in danger, especially since California, where your industry resides, it might go into shelter in fracking place again. And do you want to know why that is happening? It's not the goddamn bars that caused that. It was the protesting, the looting, the rioting that you all signed off on by not denouncing it. You can support whatever you want. I don't care. But when you come out with your superficial little tweets and Instagram posts, bending the knee to political correctness, but not denouncing violence when they are burning down the places they sell your stuff in. And here's the problem. If you want to show support for protesters, fine. Make sure to specifically say, we support peaceful protesters. We do not support violence. We do not support looting. Because when you didn't denounce those two things, guess what? You embolden everyone. Peaceful protesters, rioters, and looters. Which is antithetical to what you do. Because you need to sell stuff. And by not denouncing that violence, you signed off on it. And you know what? You could have just not said anything at all. You could have not said anything at all. And maybe later on down the line, you know what? Make a donation quietly. The problem is it was all knee-jerk because that's all Hollywood is. It's superficial knee-jerk reactions. Nobody's going to take the time to look into something. I mean, just look what they do to Canon. Look what they do to the stuff they can make money on. Do you think they're actually going to do any work on something they're not going to make money on? So these giant corporations got scared and started donating to corporations and to entities and to charities that are antithetical to the American system that they rely on to make money. And then we had one of them, fucking Bad Robot, come out and say, no more white comfort. No more white comfort, huh? For one, well, that's pretty specifically bigoted. But what you really mean is no more middle-class comfort. That's what you really mean. Guess what? Middle-class comfort is required to purchase luxury items. You are a luxury item. You are not an influencer. You are not the news. You are playtime. Stakes are pretty high. It's pretty expensive, but you are playtime. You are make-believe. Nobody watches Star Wars to get influenced. Nobody watches Doctor Who to get influenced. Nobody watches Star Trek to get influenced. Inspired? Entertained? Have a laugh? Have some fun? Yeah, man. Those days are gone. So Bad Robot goes out there and says, no more white comfort. What the hell do you think? What kind of a message do you think that sends? That sends to everybody. Burn that shit down. That's the message it sent. Burn that shit down. So now the consequences. Now it's the consequences. The mainstream media is trying to push that it was the fracking bars. That is some bullshit. And boy, I hope more and more people are waking up to this stuff. Turn that crap off. Just turn it off. It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your soul. If you believe the mainstream media now, I don't want to insult anybody. But you're a dumbass. Who to believe? I don't know. You need to find somebody, but it's not them. You are more informed by not watching the mainstream media. It actually makes you less informed. It really does. So, because you're not getting the truth. There is a war on the truth. There is a war on free speech right now. And we're getting our asses kicked. So we need to turn this around right now. We had control of the narrative. We were fighting back. Things were turning around. Common sense. After 3 years, taking 3 years off, common sense was creeping back. And then May 25th happened. And honestly, one has nothing to do with the other. What happened to Mr. Floyd was murder, needs to be taken care of, but it's got nothing to do with free speech and cancel culture. But that's where we're at now because the opportunists came out. They came out. And they've been whooping our ass. So by the way, that's why I've been asking for more people to come on YouTube. I'm going to make more videos. That's my goal is I am making more videos. I'm going to work more. So I used to do like 7 6 or 7 a month. You're getting 12, maybe more. And I'm going to be talking about this stuff more. And I honestly, I don't know if it's going to get me in trouble. I don't care at this point because we need to do something. And we need your help. So if you have the gift for gab, you have a microphone, you think you can do this, and you have common sense, please get on this platform. We need more people like you on this platform and a lot less like the mainstream media and Brie Larson and all that crap that's going on. You know what? I watched Pewd's live stream today to try to understand what the drama was in the beauty community. So we have one side telling us it's the apocalypse, right? Like it's the end of the world. There's a thing out there. It's going to get us all. And then I see some of the biggest news on YouTube is people who put makeup on their faces are arguing with each other. Which one is it? It's crazy, by the way. It's terrible. What's her name again? Tita? I don't remember. I know James Charles, one of them. I take his side. I'm sorry, his side? His side, right? I take James Charles, his side? Okay. He's young and the adult got jealous and took advantage of him and it was kind of sick. So I take James Charles' side. I'm on Team Charles. Keep fighting the good fight, says Dan C. for £5. Thank you. Eric K. And yeah, I'm pissed about the bad robot thing. Again, cinematic antichrist. All this guy has done is fucked up Star Wars, fucked up Star Trek, and now he's screwing up Hollywood. And I do not want to see him screw up DC because honestly, DC could whoop Marvel's ass right now. Marvel is vulnerable because they are locked. They are stuck. Their brains are washed. They are headed right down the road of identity politics. It's happening. The next 2 movies we're going to get, we might get an average Black Widow movie, and we're going to get an Eternals movie that'll probably feel more like Captain Marvel than Guardians of the Galaxy. Just saying. And by the time we get a good one, we're talking 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years. Are superheroes even going to be a thing? Are they going to be in vogue in 4 or 5 years? I don't think so. But DC, you have an opportunity right now. You know what? If you need to give Jar Jar a movie, get him off Justice League Dark, by the way. It's one of my favorite books. Put him on, I don't know, just give him something. I want to say a rando name and then you guys will get mad at me. But yeah, put him on Supergirl. Put him on Supergirl. Supergirl's ruined by the show anyway. Put him on Supergirl. And then like put somebody real on Superman. And then make that, just go with that. Henry Cavill is a huge star. The Witcher might be the only show that will be a huge hit in the future if it goes back into production anytime soon. So yeah, that you want to stick with sure things. You go down the woke highway, you're fucking done. You're done. It's done. People, I mean, how many times do we have to? Birds of Prey 2 just got canceled. Terminator Dark Fate still sucks. Charlie's Angels still sucks. It all still sucks. Star Wars is fucking dead. Dead. Eric K. Gary, that does say, that does say no. What? Okay, Gary, that does say no. It means they will be saying no to doing those things unless they are a bunch of writers who do not know how they write. Eric, we've already gone over this. You're talking about the Comics Pledge. They didn't know what they were writing, and it wasn't written by writers. It was written by 4 women who are activists who pretend to be comic book professionals. And that's the problem is activists have invaded all of entertainment, and it's no longer entertainment. It is activist-tainment, influence-tainment. Yeah. Propaganda. That's what it is. Propaganda. I'm sorry I'm drinking Starbucks, by the way. But beggars can't be choosers. Sip of coffee for the strong female working woman who's out there. And we're not talking about any of the posers in Hollywood. The real ones out there. We love you. Whew. Freaking bad robot. Bad Robot with its white supremacy problem at work. All right, let's go down the road. Oh my lordy. It jumped on me. There we go. Christian Basil for $5. Hey, Gary. Christian from the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. Hope all is well. Just catching up on a thing. What are you catching up on, Christian? For $5 from the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show? Just catching up on thing. I hope you're catching up on something. Thank you. Jack White for $5. The screen name I use doesn't have anything to do with the music, Jack White. I know. One of all the Joker aliases that's why I use it. It's one of the Joker's aliases. That's why I use it. Gotcha. Mark C for $10. And thank you for the super chat. Dean Cain is absolutely correct. In fact, the last time I remember DC not being afraid of the American way was Action Comics 775 with the resolution of Superman versus the Elite. That was 2001, 2002. Yep, 2001, 2002, right around 9/11. DC Comics did not even celebrate 4th of July. Shame on them. Fucking shame on them. So F the modern comic industry. I don't need you anymore. Nobody needs you. There are enough old books, comics, games, DVDs, VHSs, toys. It'll take me a lifetime to sell them. I'm only planning on working, 20 more years. 20 more years. So I got plenty of time. I'm going to sell stuff like this. I'm going to sell stuff like this. And you know what? Yeah. Even a Dynamite book. Hail Dynamite. Oh, shit. I was supposed to call you guys. I'll call you guys. Yeah. Stuff like this. Shit. I forgot. I was supposed to call him. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe that's something Lady Greymaster can do. Because I always forget. Mark C, thank you for the $10. Paisley Gemini for $19.99. I wish there were companies who would follow the insurance company in Florida who fired an employee for a video of him losing it at Costco because he was required to wear a mask. So they fired a guy because he refused to wear a mask, or because he was losing it because he refused to wear a mask. There's a difference. I mean, if he was disrespecting people at a store and screaming at them and did it publicly, fire him? I don't think they should fire him. I disagree with that, Paisley Gemini. I think they should discipline him, but fire him? And you know what? I didn't want any of the comics creatives who were attacking fans to be fired. I wanted them to be disciplined so they wouldn't do it in the future, and then they would start just writing comic books. I don't want anybody fired, but there is a point where it gets that bad, but you can't equate those. If you refuse to wear a mask, you refuse to wear a mask. We don't live in a freaking totalitarian state. Now, a business can keep you out. They have every right to keep you out. But I completely disagree with it. I will wear one because I was asked, not because I was told. Big difference. I said that earlier, and I say it again. Once our government starts telling us to do stuff, we have a big problem. And it starts with just a mask. And then it's just this. Then it's just that. And it's just a microchip in your freaking wrist to track you. Yeah, no. And you know what, everybody, you could laugh about that now, but just look at what's going on now and think about where things were 6 months ago. Lori Roberts, welcome to the Gandalf level. Praise you. Thank you, Lori. Snell World for $5. Gary picked up the 1976 Action Comics #1 Sleeping Bag reprint. Did you see Scott Baio's video where he shows Hollywood's bias? No, but I will watch it. I will watch it. Anthony Slate for $4.99. Dropped cable 6 months ago. Life is better now with channel like yours and Geeks and Gamers and Doomcock. Thank you for being there next to the others. Thank you for being there. And I know sometimes you get to type in on your phone, so I don't know what that is, but you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Anthony Slate. And listen, I was the same way, you know. I thank all the other YouTubers for being there and all of you guys for being here for me, right? You are my entertainment now. You are my entertainment. I rarely watched, I'm rewatching The Umbrella Academy now. I'm watching Dark, but most of the time I'm watching live streams. All right, now let's get to JK. I've had it up here. Let's get to JK real quick. And to keep in mind, I'm on a time limit today, so I'm going to have to bust out here pretty soon. The Super Chat Square Up for Inquisition and Last Night, Friday Night Tights is done. It'll be put up on on Nerdrotic Live tomorrow. All live streams go to Nerdrotic Live. By the way, if you could please check and make sure you are still subscribed. I forgot to do that in the beginning. The YouTube scrub is on. So the YouTube scrub is on where they scrub the bots, old accounts and stuff like that. And there's always collateral damage. So please make sure you are still subscribed. If you come across the video, make sure the bell is hit. Thank you very much. J.K. Rowling, Margaret Atwood, among 150 figures to sign letter condemning public shaming. Well, fucking too late, by the way. And where is everybody else? Every single writer in Hollywood, every single creative person needs to be condemning this shit right now. Right fucking now, or your job is in jeopardy. Right now, okay. How are we going to write stories now anyway? The only bad guys we can portray, as I said earlier in the video, are going to be Swedish bikers on meth and the bad guys from Germany. And can you even do a superhero story anymore? Because that's a tool of oppression. That's the tool of the patriarchy and oppression. You see how the Marxist narrative is antithetical to creativity? Harry Potter writer J.K. Rowling, by the way, admittedly, I'm a fan of Harry Potter. I am. I like the books. Read them with my kids. I like the books. I think JK's crazy, but I agree with her here. Harry Potter writer J.K. Rowling, Handmaid's Tale author Margaret Atwood, and Midnight's Children writer Salman Rushdie are amongst 100, by the way, still has a death sentence on his head, 150 public figures that have signed a letter condemning the practice of public shaming or cancel culture as it's known popularly. Cancel culture is a term used to describe individuals who have shared an unpopular opinion or have past behavior that's deemed offensive, who are canceled on social media. Rowling is one such example due to her views on the trans community. Again, I'm going to correct this. It's not her views on the trans community. This is a narrative that the alphabet community needs to separate themselves from, because you're going to start having problems with feminists. Right, you've already had those problems. You got to be, this is tricky stuff, man. This is tricky stuff here on YouTube. When you're born a certain way, man, woman, you have no choice in it, but you're born that way. Nature decides that. That's nature. Now, science, by the way, science can be politicized. Science can be very biased. Science is not the go-to anymore, folks. For all these a-holes out there calling you or I a science denier, but then they deny actual science in the next sentence when it comes to another subject, right? The hypocrisy, I'm just done with it. I'm done with it. We could say we want, so we do have some major issues with this, especially when it comes to women's sports. South Park has dealt with this perfectly. And right now, like that's science. Okay. We're talking the science of being born a female. All right. You're starting to deny them their agency. That's what J.K. Rowling was talking about. She didn't want to be denied any of her agency. And guess what? Most women agree with her. Most women agree with her. Most working women, a surprising amount of women here in San Francisco would agree with her. So she's not wrong. She's getting killed for this stuff because they keep running that it's anti-trans. It's not anti-trans. It's pro-woman. Atwood received, and like this, I don't agree on with J.K. Rowling on much. Okay, I liked her books. I thought she, you know what, she proved you don't need to be a man to be able to write a man. She wrote Harry Potter, a little boy, perfectly. Perfectly. So you don't have to be the thing to write the thing. You have to be talented. Now, I don't know how, I mean, she hasn't been able to write anything out of Harry Potter with a shit. It's pretty awful. So I have questions about that, but that's a video for another day. Atwood received considerable backlash in 2016 after supporting an open letter on Canada's University of British Columbia to provide its reasons for suspending and firing novelist and instructor Stephen Galloway after sexual assault allegations emerged. Meanwhile, Rushdie's 1988 novel, The Satanic Verses, has also drawn criticism over the years for its depiction of Islamic beliefs. Death sentence on his head. He's got the ultimate cancel culture after this. The guy has had a death sentence on his head forever. And there's certain places in this world he cannot go anymore, or he will die. Other signatories of the letter include authors Martin Amis and Jeffrey, Noam Chomsky. Wow. Jasby. These are people we wouldn't agree with very much. As centrists, or if you're on the right, Gary Kasparov, okay. Chess grandmaster Gary Kasparov. But I'm not seeing Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. We need big names to condemn this. Everybody. The letter published Tuesday in Harper's Magazine states, the free exchange of information and ideas, the lifeblood of a liberal society, is daily becoming more constricted. And who has been defending free speech and free expression the most over the last 6 to 7 years? We'll say 4 to 5 years. Has it been the left or the right? It's been the right. While we have come to expect this on the radical right, censuriness is I can't read that. Is also spreading more widely. Censuriness is also spreading widely in our culture. An intolerance of opposing views, a vogue for public shaming, and ostracism. So a vogue for public shaming and ostracism, and the tendency to dissolve complex policy issues in a blinding moral certainty. We uphold the value of a robust and even caustic counter speech from all quarters, but it is now all too common to hear calls for swift and severe retribution in response to a perceived transgression of speech and thought. Whatever the arguments are around each particular incident, the result has been to steadily narrow the boundaries of what can be said without the threat of reprisal. The letter argues, we are already paying the price in a greater risk aversion among writers, artists, and journalists. What have we been saying? What have I been saying for fucking 6 years on this channel? Writers can't write anymore. That's part of the reason why everything sucks. They're leaning into the politics and they can't write because they're not free to write. Well, you know what, writers, the writers back in the day used to have balls. And I mean this metaphorically, of course. You need to stand up. We need more people than this. And it is way too late. Where in the fuck have you been? You've been attacking us for wanting free expression. And some of you who have signed this letter are complicit in this shit, by the way, J.K. Rowling. But now all of a sudden you want to come out and of course you mentioned the far right. Well, guess what? There's a far left too. There's a far right and there's a far left. And guess who has control, firm control of the narrative right now? The far left. I heard my good friend Rob from Midnight's Edge arguing that it's both sides throwing rhetoric. That is true. Unfortunately, I can't hear the other side right now over the far left. Nobody can argue. Nobody that the far right has control of jack shit. Because they don't. I don't take them seriously. Nobody takes them seriously. And they're absolutely powerless. But the far left is not right now. And I mean the extreme. I'm not talking about what they were talking about here. The lifeblood of a liberal society, true liberalism, liberty, based on liberty, is daily becoming more constricted. All right? This isn't shit I want to talk about, but it's killing our pop culture. It's fucking killing it. So we can erase all the Disney trilogies we want. But nothing is going to get better until this gets fixed. The letters have, by the way, we need to preserve the possibility of a good faith disagreement without dire professional consequences. YouTube. If we won't defend the very thing on which our work depends, we shouldn't expect the public or the state to defend it for us. Right there. What is my good friend Eric July, Young Rippa 59, what is he always talking about? The state. The state. I do not support the state, okay? I never have. I want the state to build my roads and shut up. I don't want them coming in and legislating this. It's almost like Silicon Valley wants that to happen. And I'm going to relate a situation for you. The Chode in Seattle. Remember, they didn't do much because they wanted somebody else to come in and fix it. And it's a good thing the federal government didn't. I think it's a very similar situation. But what Silicon Valley with the mainstream media and what Twitter and the useful idiots on Twitter have been doing is silencing dissenting voices that aren't radical right. Aren't radical at all. Misrepresented as radical because it's just opposite. We're in absolute dangerous territory now. Like real. That's why I'm talking about it. And this is shit we need to take seriously. And if we don't stop it now, it's going to get worse. And then they will come after somebody like me. Well, I'm tame compared to this other shit. The letter has provoked a deluge of online responses. You're kidding me, right? I would say this might be the best thing J.K. Rowling has taken part in writing since fucking Harry Potter. Did you hear anything extreme there? I had a conversation with somebody. Well, I got to make sure I'm allowed to tell this story. I will get back to you on that one. Lady Gravemaster, please remind me. I talked to somebody pretty big in Hollywood, and we had a conversation about this because I had mentioned that I am surprised that that person knew who I was or was interested in the channel and even liked what I did. And apparently they liked what I did. And they told me why. Healthy discourse. We need to have a healthy discourse all the time. Our work is never done. Nothing is ever perfect. Right now, there are entities out there within Hollywood and without protesting on the streets right now and being violent on the streets who want to tear our system completely down and what they want to replace it with is worse, but they don't even have that ready yet. They just want to tear it down. And they think they can only partially tear it down. That's how stupid they are. They think they can just tear the part down that they don't like. The thing is, it all comes down. And then You have to rebuild it. And I think what the chode in Seattle showed us, it's very hard to build a system. Okay. But it's easy as hell to destroy it. And you know what? We need to fight for the system. For our kids, for ourselves. We can't just sit back, watch the news, and hope the orange man comes in and fixes stuff. It's not for the orange man to fix. It's for us to fix. And if certain entities are not working in the best interest of the people, then we need to start ignoring that. Now, I'm not telling anybody what to do. You make an individual decision. I will direct you towards an Eric July video that he recorded 3 or 4 days ago concerning civil disobedience. Highly recommend you watch it. We need to defend this. We need to defend it now. The fact that it's got a backlash at all is not surprising, but every artist in Hollywood should be signing this right now. Every comic artist should be signing this. Where in the fuck is the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund? Oh, I'm sorry. Getting me too'd. The letter has provoked a deluge of online responses. Author and transgender activist Jennifer Finley Boylan, who signed the letter, recanted her position within hours. I did not know who else had signed the letter. I thought it was endorsing a well-meaning, if vague, message against internet shaming. I did not know Chomsky, Steinman, and Atwood were in, and I thought I was in good company. The consequences are mine to bear. I'm sorry. Coward. Coward. Now, listen, I don't know about Chomsky. I'm not a fan. I don't know much about him. I am just talking about this message. I don't give a shit who signed it. I can completely disagree with him. That's what we need to worry about. Right there. And what's going to happen, folks? The state is going to come in. The state is going to come in, and we're going to get more restrictions. Just like with the Patriot Act, and just like with all the other restrictions that they don't roll back. The government doesn't roll shit back. Oh my God. I mean, Chairman Newsom must be having the time of his life right now. This like, he wakes up in the morning and you know what he says? I was born for this. You know, that's what he says. I was born for this. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. This is, I don't know what to say other than the fact that somebody already quit the letter. The alphabet community is being used. You are being used by political provocateurs to silence people. You need to fight back against that too. And I know there's alphabet members in my chat. They're always welcome here. But as individuals, you need to fight against that. Is the alphabet community a hive mind? Do you all think the same way? To where you let Boylan can speak for you or something? Like, where are they? Where are the people who speak for everyone? No, they want us in our little tribes. They want us in our little tribes so they could separate us and then just conquer the shit out of us. And it's happening, folks. So the message of hope is we can fight this because there's more of us. There's a lot more of us, but we need to start. We need to start. We need to get off our asses. It's time. And my answer to pretty much everything right now is no. No. That message of hope. Right there. But we need a bigger display than that. Chairman Newsom said prior to the 4th of July that fireworks were illegal. They weren't, he didn't want to strain the fire department. This is Los Angeles. And it was just like this where I was too. 50 years I've been in the state. I have never seen anything close to what 4th of July was. And it was that everywhere. okay, we need to do more than fireworks now. We really do. No good for 10 Canadian pesos. Got a few comics recently to start a small collection, and the staff were saying, thank you for paying our wages after each sale. P.S. Our money isn't pesos, it's loonies. Very dignified currency. A loonie. I call it peso. Everything's a peso. Sanctuary of Geeks for $5, except for it's pounds. Hi, Gary. I by the way, thank you very much. No good. And thank you for buying comic books and paying their salary. Hi, Gary. I worry that the next they'll reboot Knight Rider as Woke Rider and cancel Baywatch. Did you see the '08 Knight Rider reboot? Personally, I liked it. I did not. Sanctuary Geeks. I'll go check it out, though. Snell World for $5. 3 Jedis alive in the Return of the Jedi, and that was the best they could do, right? Honestly, yeah. It's going to be in my video. But there was something that guy said that I thought was majorly important. Now, I don't know what the context of it was. But has anybody asked George Lucas how he felt about them killing Han Solo in The Force Awakens? Has anybody, I don't know. I asked the question because I don't know. So if anybody knows, if anybody has asked George Lucas specifically how he felt about them killing Han Solo in The Force Awakens, and he gave an answer, I would love to hear it. Because I don't think he'd be happy. I don't think George Lucas sold his characters to have them killed off. I think he sold his characters to keep them alive. And what did Disney do? They killed them off. I think George Lucas sold, I think that's the last thing he wanted. And you know what? The only person who has the right to kill off Han Solo and Luke Skywalker is George Lucas. Destiny Captain for $4.99. Gary, have you heard the news making all the headlines? Fletch is working overtime. Destiny Captain for $4.99. James Zabersky for $4.49 Australian. Love the content, mate. Thank you. Love you guys. Arthur P for $1.49. Thank you for the phallic unicorn. Private Halo for Private Halo 117 for $19.99. I have a connection extremely high up in the Fan Expo, and they have a contingency plan for the con industry. Can't say much more right now other than been sending you emails for the last week and a half, still waiting on a reply. Private Halo. Are they from Private Halo? And a contingency for what? I'm checking. I don't see anything from Private Halo. Private Halo, what is your, I'll look again, but I don't see anything from Private Halo 117. Idea Machine for $5. I can't wait to visit your comic store. Last week, I bought Amazing Spider-Man's 498 through 500. Yep, and you can end right there. End at 500 and just go back, and you're good. Mr. 19 for $4.99. How's it going? It's going very well. We've got each other. Dan C. for £5. The same people who attacked fans have now started tearing each other apart. These people are insane. LOL, they are. You know what? They're insane. More importantly, they're freaking retarded. I'm sorry, but they're retarded. These people have no brains in their fucking skulls. They are able to produce comic books and do nothing else. I'm surprised they know how to use a toilet. They're so freaking stupid. Scott Snyder is a moron. Frickin' moron. Dude, Scott Snyder is as fucking metal as Rainbow Bright. I mean, the dude isn't metal at all. Screw his books, screw his narrative, and yeah, I'm done with that dude. Don't give up the fight. Carry on. Marcus Cato for $1.99. I am just getting started. I've tried to be reasonable. I've tried to be nice. I've tried to be fair. Def 81 for £1.99. First time heard Ray and character is this. First time I've heard Ray and character in the same sentence. Well, it was not on purpose. Def 81. Ray is not a character. She is a block of wood. Loquacious Primate for $10. Hey, Gary. When I super chatted Unsafe Space, Carrie recognized me because a friend who watches you saw me mention her, and there are plans to have her come on there are plans for her to come on your show. I'm glad you were able to connect. Yes. Thank you, Loquacious Primate, for $10. I emailed her, and hopefully sometime this week we can get her on. I'm going to have Lady Gravemaster contact her. Now that I have some help, I will be able to get to more stuff. Fox Pocket for $20. Do you have any advice for someone opening up their first brick and mortar store? Have been considering expanding my online card game shop by opening a store in a small hometown, tabletop, arcade, use manga, media, and anime merch. That is a great idea, Fox Pocket. What I would do is go find a small town, but not that small, smallish. See if you can buy the building. And it doesn't have to be in the sexiest part of town. That's the biggest mistake comic shops make. People find comic shops. They don't need to be on Broadway or in the sexiest part of town. You put that thing in the outskirts. Just make sure people can get there. You have free parking. And if you own the building, that's half the battle right there. If you can buy a building, and right now, we're already starting to see the rental market come way down. All right. That's already happening. As a matter of fact, the decision made a couple days ago here in San Francisco just halved all the rents overnight. We want to know why? Because nobody's going to be able to pay their fucking bills, because this place isn't going to be open for at least another month. And they keep pushing it back a month until it's election time. Believe me, folks, when it's past November, everything's going to go back to freaking normal. We'll say early next year. You're seeing everything getting pushed back. They're just trying to lock us down for an entire year. There is a way to fight that, but you got to be willing to, risk something. Miracle Draw for £5. Hey, Gary, do you think if Disney gets, but my recommendation, try to buy the building and if not, negotiate the lowest rent as possible, and don't bury yourself under inventory. You can get a lot of stuff used. Be cheap. Be very cheap. Miracle Draw for £5. Hey, Gary, do you think if Disney gets desperate financially, Lucas could buy back Star Wars? Or could he try to buy it back regardless? That question has been brought up a lot. Somebody brought up that maybe through Apple, George Lucas can buy Star Wars back. Yeah, I can see that happening. But I've also heard from people in the know that Bob Iger will never get rid of Star Wars, like out of his cold dead hands, but he might be gone pretty soon. So I don't know. I am of the belief Kathleen Kennedy isn't gone until Bob Iger is gone. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if she hung out just a little bit longer than he did, so she could say he lasted longer than he did. Just to let everybody know, and I'll let you know in the video, the reason Star Wars Celebration was pushed off to 2022 is because they weren't ever going to do one in 2021. So they just canceled 2020 and they're going to do the 2000, because they do skip a year once in a while. If you go to the Wikipedia, go check out Star Wars Celebration. They skip years all the time. Talons of Wayne Chang for $1.99. Hey, Gary, What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? What do you know? Nothing today, buddy. Nothing. Thank you, Talons of Wang Chang. Get the physical copy of the Talons of Wang Chang. Get the physical copy. All right. We're going to have to, I got 4 minutes, folks, before I got to get back to work here on my Star Wars video. Hopefully there will be, I've worked on an exozone. I've got some, so I think there's going to be an exozone tomorrow. I've done some work on it. So, Steve Carter for £2. Sorry, I'm late. Couldn't leave as. Oh, that's okay. You don't have to leave as. You can, my stuff goes back up. Chris Persia for £1.49 or for Canadian 49. Thank you for the Canadian 49. $1.49 Canadian for the phallic unicorn. Thank you, OK Gare Empty Bear, for the same thing. Appreciate it. Peter Ford. If Lucasfilm had any balls, they would recast Luke, Han, and Leia at all, but they have Kathleen Kennedy, who literally and figuratively has no balls. They're going to recast and rewrite the original trilogy. They will remake the original trilogy. As a matter of fact, I stated in my video, the original trilogy will be remade before they erase jack shit. That is my opinion. That is not based on anything. But you can't erase the Disney trilogy without opening yourself up to multiple lawsuits, breaking license agreements with multiple companies, and you'll be removing the first female lead of a Star Wars trilogy from canon, and you will be opening yourself up to the blue check marks, which Disney is afraid of. I'm sorry, they shouldn't be afraid of them, but that's the reality. Star Wars is dead. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie to you guys, though. I mean, like, if it happens, great. Then Star Wars is alive if it happens. If it doesn't happen, Star Wars is dead. Now, they could take now, I could much more see them taking the Mandalorian and having him go through time to save Baby Yoda. Doesn't that make more sense? And that way you can open up your Mandalorian to a whole new universe, and you can create the Mandalorian cinematic universe. Right? That sounds like it makes way more sense than the other way. But here's what's going to happen. They're going to use the Mandalorian to make the Disney trilogy look better. Kind of like the Clone Wars. What the Clone Wars did for the prequels, the Mandalorian will start doing that for the Disney sequels. It has to work, folks. They got to make it work. They can't undo it. They don't have the money to do it. Christ, it would cost them a fortune to redo a franchise. I mean, come on. No, I think the one that I would watch, I would be way more interested in The Mandalorian if they went through some little time vortex or whatever and created their own universe and then used the MCU model, which is what I believed is going to happen. What I still believe is going to happen. They're going to bring in Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau and just try to recreate the MCU, which you can't, by the way. Good luck. But it would be better than anything we get from Kathleen Kennedy or her crap story group. But yeah, look, I look forward to the article from We Got This Covered tomorrow that says, sources say that the Veil of the Force will be used by the Mandalorian to save Baby Yoda. These are the same sources that told us JFK would be shot in 1963 and that the Titanic was going to sink in 1912. Yeah. Same sources. If you worked at Technicolor, did any of the CG Ninja Turtles run through your hands? I noticed it was rendered in Technicolor. Well, was it between the years 2009 and 2011? Because if it was, yes. I worked on 2,000 titles. I wrote them down one day. I was waiting for something to render and it took fucking hours. So I wrote down every title I worked on. I worked on Thor, Game of Thrones, True Blood. I used to love True Blood. I used to love that show. And it ended so shitty. Just like Game of Thrones. It ended so shitty. Maybe that's an HBO thing. You know, the two of the best all-time HBO series only had 2 seasons each. Rome and Carnival. Rome and Carnival are the shit. They are so good. Thank you, Mark C. I'll go back and look and see if I wrote it down. I still have my Technicolor notebook. When Crazy KK leaves, we need a celebration stream. Oh, we planned that. I think we're going to do 24 hours and we're going to just skip around channels, complete with Yub-Nub music. Maybe I'll create a channel to handle the copyright strike. Oh, I'll take it. I don't care. They confirmed Palps is a clone in the Fall of Skywalker book. JMail 2012, $1.99. Thank you. Here's my thoughts on that. That's not confirmation. Here's what canon really is. And believe me, I've heard this from higher ups. You know what canon really is? Nothing. But the only canon they really respect in Hollywood is what's on the screen. No books, no comic books. Every director, when they take on a project, they see that if it's in a comic book or in a book, it didn't happen. It had to happen on screen. So that is not confirmation that Palps is a clone. It had to happen on screen or you can fuck with it. And believe me, they'll fuck with it. Crow T Robot from the Satellite of Love for $5. All they have to do is rename 7 and 9 as the multiverse without breaking agreements. That breaks agreements. I mean, that's like saying all they have to do is say, yeah, that's like saying, oh, it's actually a different Star Wars movie and retitle it. No, you're breaking agreements. Listen, folks, I don't want to lie to you. Okay. It's not possible. It's just not. And you know what? I'm going to bring Robert Meyer Burnett on the channel. Robert, are you out there, buddy? He's probably doing a live stream. I'm going to bring Robert Meyer Burnett on. I'm going to play you. The most boring live stream. And we're going to go over how contracts and licensings work in Hollywood. Okay. I know a little bit about licensing, a little bit. Okay. But I don't necessarily know how it works in Hollywood. What I know from licensing is through Doctor Who. Okay. So we'll go over it and we'll see if it's possible. I'm not going to go through it with a closed mind. I'm going to come in with an open mind going, okay, show me how this can work. Let's try to figure out how this can work. Like really, not like pie in the sky. 'Cause right now that's what it sounds like. It just sounds like wishful thinking. And I don't want to give you guys false hope. Because if there's a gun to my head, I'm going to tell you there's no way they could do this. There's no fucking way they can do it. And it's not that simple. Crow T Robot from the Satellite of Love. Satellite of Love. I love the cover of that song, by the way. Love the cover of that song. I want it to be true more than anything, and forget the licensing. Forget all that shit. I gave you the real reason why they will never do it. They will not take away the first female lead from a Star Wars movie. They will not take away Carrie's trilogy. Because that's how they see it. There's just no way. And these people, they have to work with each other again someday. And that is in the back of the mind of everyone at Hollywood. That's why they don't outright just fuck people over unless they really hate them. Because everybody knows I'm going to have to work with this person. Because it's such an insular town anyway. So, I do believe they've had conversations. That I believe. I do believe that they are trying to save it. I believe that. But it depends on the person providing the information. Are they in the room? Are these people in the room? Do they work for Lucasfilm or are they friends with somebody who works in Lucasfilm, or are they somebody who works in licensing, who is privy to some information? Like in my case with the Doctor Who rumors, right? That person does not work in the BBC. They do not work in the BBC. Good luck getting a freaking insider from the BBC. We both have tried. It is not possible. I mean, I guess it's possible, but listen, my channel is small potatoes compared to everybody else. So, and not a lot of people, like nobody reaches out to me to Star Wars, probably because I don't do a lot of Star Wars videos, and I won't, trust me. I think it's a dead meme, but I think I think it's interesting that the fans got this jazzed up. And what's more interesting to me is the people outside the fandom menace who got jazzed up about this. I think that's the takeaway from this. That's what you got. Fuck the information. That's good to be out there, and it's a good way to find out where your interest is. And it's clearly not in Disney's trilogy. If they want Star Wars to survive, they need to scrap it. I just don't think they will. They absolutely need to do it, though. But political correctness and listen, Crow T, if that was the sentiment a month ago or prior to the beer bug, or even a month ago, prior to the looting and the riots and the protesting, prior to George Floyd, I could believe that they might consider that. After George Floyd, no way. Not happening. Southeastern Kaiju, thank you for the $1.49. And we're going to say Sir Straight, thank you for the $1.49 and the super sticker. Last super chat of the day, and I got to take off. Eric K for $5. Maybe Rey will go back in time, stop Anakin, and wipe out not only her existence, but Luke and Leia, and change history. And go, oops. Oh, I killed one too many people. I don't exist anymore. Oh, that'd be great. If they're going to mess with time, they'll do it through The Mandalorian. They will not erase the Disney trilogy. It's already history. It's already gone. And I think they just want it to be a memory. But if they erase the Disney trilogy, and I'm going to stay on this, there's 2 rides at Lucasfilm that are now part of the multiverse. That shit matters to people. It does. And if it didn't matter, then they would just take Star Trek Discovery and put it in the Kelvin universe. If it didn't matter to anybody, that would instantly make pretty much everybody happy. I don't think anybody would complain too much about Star Trek Discovery being in the Kelvin universe. But I think the people who like The Last Jedi and for whatever reason would screech, would unholy hell. And I don't care. But Disney does. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what Doomcock thinks. It doesn't matter what Midnight's Edge thinks. It matters what Bob Iger thinks and Kathleen Kennedy. And Jon Favreau's not in control. I wish he was. I'll say it again. Go back and watch my first Mandalorian review, the first episode. First thing I say, these are the people who should be in charge of Star Wars. It's the first thing that genuinely felt a little bit like Star Wars, but they'll never get it back unless George comes back. And that reality really didn't hit until I was thinking of that analogy today. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You can buy, you know what? Somebody could go buy Doomcock's IP, right? Get his voice changer, put on his mask. I ain't going to be fucking Doomcock. Same goes for Star Wars. You're getting, it's fake Star Wars. It's just like fake Trek. Okay, so I got to wrap it up there. Sorry I couldn't get to everything, and I'll put it in, probably add it to my square up tomorrow. Announcement. The Nerdrotic Nooners time is changing, okay? Because I really want to be more consistent with this show. But it's very difficult because it's kind of in the middle of my day. Because it's 4:00 now, and I still have an entire day's worth of work to do. So I need to shift my schedule. It's not very good for the family stuff now, especially since Mrs. Nerdrotic's home all day now. So we are moving the Nerdrotic Nooner to 10 a.m. Pacific time, 10 to 12. 10 to 12. We can run long on some days, which is fine, but we're going to say generally 10 to 12. Coming at you, Campia. No, it's that doesn't factor in it at all. It's just better for me time-wise. I'm sorry if it sucks for some of you, but it really is. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, except for weeks I have the Inquisition. So it goes Monday, Wednesday, and then it goes Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I know it's confusing, but Inquisition night, it's hard for me to turn around and do a live stream the next day. So, and I owe you guys a chill stream. We need to do that soon too. So we got some good Lord of the Rings news. Looks like the bad robot dweebs are out. We'll see, but it looks like they're out. And Russell Crowe is going to play the last King of Numenor, which is awesome. Birds of Prey, we didn't really go over that much, sorry. Got canceled. Big surprise. They're going over to fuck up another franchise, Pirates, and they're going to get the exact same results. Exact same results. Cancel culture is something that really the Fandom Menace needs to be talking about as much as possible, and they have been. By the way, they have been. A lot of up and coming channels have been going at this hard. Jeremy's been talking about it. I've been talking about it. We need more people talking about it, and it needs to be fought at every step. And the key to that is no. And the problem is it's Hollywood bending the knee all the time. They're fucking all of us over by doing that. Like I said in my last video, if you didn't see it, Bad Robot screwed over everybody. Everybody with their little statement. So they need to pay for that. They need to pay for that. I mean, don't give them money. That's what I mean by that. I'm going to tell you what I meant by that. Don't give them money. Fight back by holding, you keep your wallet in your pocket. Nothing violent. Okay. Just don't give them money. Don't support them. They're fucking shit. Star Wars rumors. Interesting. I got a video coming out with more details on that, but I do have to thank publicly Ichibaka. And I'll make sure go check out his channel and stuff. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you to Lady Greymaster for your help today on this. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Eric K, the Modrotic, Starry-Eyed Girl. Thank you for being here, the Modrotic. I appreciate you. Nihilist Shadow, thank you. Lori Wilson, thank you. Comics Division, good looking out, buddy. Chris Persia. Bird of Prey 5, Kapla. Welcome to all the new members. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. Next live stream for sure will be 2 p.m. this Friday. Friday Night Tights. Should be a good one. We've got some, hopefully we'll get the guests we want, but we'll see. We'll see. Not so sure. So until next time, not all who wander are lost, and may the wings of liberty never lose a feather.